Conference is the current subject for discussions by many Namibians now that all regional consultations have been concluded. The conference is slated for the first week of October, but one notable absentee could be the Landless People Movement, which regard themselves as an important stakeholder in land redistribution. In the studio, we are joined by Bernardus Swartboy, one of the leaders of LPM. Good evening and a warm welcome to the NBC studios.
Good evening, and thank you for having us here.
Why have you decided not to attend this important forum where you could have raised and put your concerns on the national agenda?
We have not decided in any way to boycott anything. We have not been invited. And what we have said is that we do not necessarily attend things that are planned to produce a particular outcome. You would know that the conference itself is basically treated as a substructure of a particular political party, and that in its design and in its outset, it basically is meant to reaffirm the status quo, that the landless will remain landless, that the homeless will remain homeless, that nothing much will change in terms of the return of ancestral land. Now, you have a choice to make. Do you attend something of that sort, even if you're invited to play into someone else's hands? Or do you raise the concerns that you have in a very responsible way and put it out there for the Namibian people to see what this gimmick is all about? What we have also said is that we have particular resolutions that we have taken to our land conference that we have had last year. That these resolutions are quite serious resolutions, and that they are resolutions that are worthy of a conference to discuss, debate, and look at how to implement them. But there are people that are placed in the conference who are particularly operatives of one particular party. They don't have a constituency regarding the question of land to come and represent that constituency. There is also the traditional authorities that have been particularly undermined in this process. You would have traditional authorities not even be able to speak at this conference to articulate concerns about their communities. Now, how do you have a conference under those conditions? Now, we know that we have not been invited even to the high-level committee, and our sources are telling us the debates that are unfolding there, because the fear is that the issues that we want to raise are not within the ideological spectrum of the ruling elite that has captured this country. So we continue to fight for the issue. We continue to look at areas of litigation, and we continue to be steadfast in our resolve to continue to fight this matter at all platforms.
Now, you have announced to have your own land conference. How do you think the recommendations of your conference would find their way for implementation on a national scale?
Well, of course, some of these parties can copy and implement our resolutions, but we do not see that the current regime would be able to implement any resolution that we have tabled. Because remember, they have had 28 years to implement certain things. They have not done so. If I can, for instance, tell you that the expropriation of absentee landlords' farms was one of an important issue that has not been done in 28 years. The return of land that was lost during the dispossession period, that could have been done, it has not been done. We are, for instance, saying that in terms of resolving some of the development problems in rural areas, why don't you look at the development fund, the trust fund in the Traditional Authority Act, and capitalize that fund so that money can go directly to trust funds of communities and enhance their development opportunities at local level. Obviously, they are not going to look at these things. We are saying in terms of urban land, there are certain categories of people, your domestic workers, your cleaners, the individuals that are from the lower income groups that will never be able to afford a piece of land to build a house. Give those people in our community a piece of land free of charge. They will never look at that. So our approach to the land question is to fundamentally transform Namibian society and to restore people's dignity, which has been lost through years of colonialism. This conference is not aimed at doing anything of this sort. It is a conference to enhance the status quo. It is a conference, as was said by Mr. Genkop, that is aimed at controlling the Namibian population to remain landless, homeless. And so our resolutions that we have are the types of resolutions that do not feature in the ideological spectrum of the current ruling elite.
Mr. Swartboy, a very, very interesting topic, this of national interest. Just quickly, what is the use then? If you have your own mini-conference, what is the use then if you believe your views won't be incorporated nationally?
Well, we come from constituents that have decided to stand up, and the executive is basically one arm of state. There are other arms of state that can check the executive, and we have said, let us organize ourselves and take it to the judiciary, lobby around, but also to raise our issues at international forum. We have a SADC meeting. Of course, SADC has become a very a toothless instrument in the hands of the elites that have captured it again. And we have said, let us raise the issues and organize ourselves as part of a whole international body of people that are involved in the landless struggle. And we are making great inroads. Now, you can see how regimes are beginning to fall apart. Yesterday, students were beaten up because they were standing up for their rights and asking for resources and so on. Of course, our student command element will have a press statement tomorrow and elaborate on it. But our views are not limited to whether the executive will accept them or not. We are in a mass mobilization for social justice.
Well, like I said, a topical issue of national interest, and of course we can talk about it for as long as it goes on.
Sure.
We thank you so much for taking the time to join us. That was Bernardo Swartboy, one of the leaders of LPM, discussing land and the upcoming National Land Conference. We asked if you think the Land Conference will yield the desired results. Nathan says no, it will not, because it is too politically influenced and so much exclusions. If political interests were put aside and all stakeholders are invited, then it will yield results. Philemon says it will be as long as discussions and decisions are based on the people's will and are regarded as collective decisions. And Gavasis had a lot to say on this, but to highlight a few, they said in order to avoid disorder issues of ancestral land and absentee landlords must find workable resolutions. Gavasis also added that success is possible if resolutions are implemented.